Hey friends, real quick before we start the podcast, I want to let you know about the Mighty Warrior Handbook. This is a powerful new tool that I have built based off of the story of Gideon in Judges. Gideon, one of my all-time favorite Bible heroes. But he didn't start out that way. He had to become what God was calling him to be. God calls him a mighty warrior. And we are being called to be something more than what we are right now. This guide will help you identify, where is God calling you? Who does God want you to become, and how can you get there? There's a link in the podcast description. It's totally free. Download the guide and get started on becoming who God wants you to become, a mighty warrior for God. Okay, now let's get to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome again to Excited About the Gospel, a Meaning and Purpose interview podcast today with Jared Stull. Jared, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For those of you that want to know a little bit about Jared, he's a dad, comedian, and an improv teacher who delights in turning everyday moments into memorable stories. Jared has a background in comedy improv, works with youth groups and adults, helping them build confidence, creativity, and a love for storytelling through fun, interactive workshops. When he's not on the stage or in the classroom or working on awesome projects with his amazing wife, Nicole, he'll be cheering on his favorite college football team, making short films with his family, or with his golden retriever, Tree. So, and you can find out more if you're in the Boise area. Go to boisecomedy.com for the improv company, troupe. What do we call an improv group?
Yeah, troop is good. Yeah, group, I guess. I don't know. Troop, group, whatever.
There you go. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. One thing, we live sort of in the same area, and I just sort of kind of know you, but see you on social media. You, to me, seem to be a guy who, like, you do the thing you want to do. Like what you're doing is what you want to do. How true is that? Just from watching you, from our brief interactions and from social media, how true is it you're doing what you want to do?
It's probably 85% true. Yeah.
So I mean, for someone who maybe is not 85%, like if somebody said to me, what do you want to, if you woke up tomorrow and could do anything in the world, what would you want to do? It's not what I do most of the time. How did you get to a place where, like, 85% of the time you're doing what you want to do?
Well, a big part of it is my wife, right? So we've been married for, let's see, we got married in 2001. So this year it'll be our 25th wedding anniversary in November. And she knew from the get-go that I loved to be on stage, that I was a performer. We actually met in an acting class, and she had seen me perform as we were dating in some of these improv groups in college. And when we got married, we ended up in the same church group as the director of an improv group down there in Utah. And once they found out that I did improv, they invited both of us to come be part of their group. And we just built that together. We built that training, that love of entertaining people and helping them connect through laughter and fun. We just bonded over that. She wasn't an actor at the time. She had, I think, one acting class or maybe two acting classes by the time we met. We met in an acting project and kind of started dating by the end of it. It was awkward because we played brother and sister in this acting project, but
oh, dang.
Yeah, got romantically interested by the end of it. But
the audience is like, there's a weird chemistry between those siblings.
The brother sister, just a weird chemistry. But when we moved to Boise in 2003, she was doing an internship to finish her degree. And we thought we'd be here for 4 months, and then we were off to wherever the next step was. But we had some complications with our first pregnancy, and she ended up right before she started that internship, she ended up in a hospital in Helena, Montana for a
Mm.
week trying to stop that pregnancy because the baby was due in December and this was the first part of September. So, quite early. Um, Luckily, we were able to stop labor and stabilize things. And then she was on bed rest. So the internship didn't happen.
Mm.
But her family is here in Boise. So we stayed with her parents for that time. And then once we had the baby in December, we started looking for a house and we thought, well, we could make it work here for a little while. And with her family as a support system and um, just loving the area, we put down roots. And within about, I'd say 6 months of that baby being born, we thought we want to start our own comedy improv group here. So that was kind of the start of it all. And we have been together through thick and thin, but that passion remains for helping people connect through laughter and fun and entertainment. And we've been able to build a lifestyle on that. And honestly, putting roots down in one place has helped. We have a huge network here in Boise because we've been in here for, like 23 years at this point, 22 and a half years. So anybody that does improv here in Boise, we know them. We've either, somehow we know them. And the same thing goes into the film community. If anybody does here in film here in Boise, we've either performed for them. We've been on their sets helping them. We've built those relationships. So now when people need something, they know they can call us and we can be there. And it's just translated into us being able to roll that over into paying projects as well as passion projects that we love.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is not on topic, but I promise we'll get back to topic. But I'm fascinated by, from a filmmaker, actor, improv person, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh gosh. Okay. I have one that I tell people as a filmmaker, and then I have one as a comedian.
Yeah.
The filmmaker one is Rebecca by Alfred Hitchcock. It's an old black and white Alfred Hitchcock, not his earliest ones, but kind of right in the middle. And it's just a great story. It's super suspenseful, pretty terrifying at times, but very Alfred Hitchcock. And I love it. But then the real one that I love, my comedy one, is Happy Gilmore. They're like polar opposites.
Just say equal levels of filmmaking brilliance.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Did you like Happy Gilmore 2?
What's that?
Did you like Happy Gilmore 2?
Okay, I'll be honest, I have not watched it yet.
Oh, okay.
It hasn't been the right time for me. I don't feel like I can just turn it on and like watch it while I'm doing other stuff. I have to sit down and really enjoy it without kids asking questions and all this other stuff. So
all right,
I haven't taken the time to invest in it yet.
Okay.
But I will.
All right. I'm fascinated to see what you think. This is interesting to me as a person who like seems to bounce back and forth. But you and I first met at least 18 years ago. And for some reason, this stands out in my mind. We were in a ward together, and I, for some reason, remember that you saying at the time, like, the thing I want to do with my life is help kids through theater. And now, like 20 years later, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, how early in your life was that, like, this is what I'm doing? So question number one is, how early in your life was that, like, this is what I'm doing? And then question number two is going to be, how have you maintained your like love and passion for that purpose for this long?
Well, okay, the first answer to that is kind of a long one, and I'll keep it as brief as I can. But when I grew up in a tiny town in Montana, right? There was like 15 kids in my 8th grade class, but we weren't that far away from Great Falls, which was, a little bit bigger, 55,000 people. So not a huge town, but um, a regular high school. And my parents would commute into town because they both worked in town. So by the time I was an eighth grader, my older brother was going into the high school with my parents. And they thought, let's just move into town. It's going to be better for us, better for the kids. So my freshman year was at the local high school in Great Falls, bigger school, different experience. And as an eighth grader, I wanted to be a pilot. My grandpa was a World War II pilot. I wanted to go into the Air Force and fly fighter pilots. That was what I wanted to do. And I loved math. I had an interest in engineering, and I thought maybe I could parlay the engineering interest and math interest into a career in the military. But then this is the crazy part. I was signed up for Earth Science as one of my elective classes as a freshman. And I had a friend that was in Boy Scouts with me a couple years older, and he said, no, you don't want to do Earth Science. Take the drama class because the and this is interesting because this is a gospel podcast. He said the teacher will let you swear in class.
Nice.
And as an eighth grader, I grew up in the church. My parents were both converts, but I grew up as a member. I thought, I was a little rebellious. I thought, okay, good. I can swear. I try not to swear around my parents, but I swear in school sometimes. I thought that was really cool. So I changed it from Earth Science to acting, to theater. And I tried out for my first play. And this is all the wrong reasons, Jason. I got cast in my first play, and it was a collection of short scenes and monologues. And I was cast with this girl in this scene, and it was a kissing scene.
Yes.
And she was a sophomore and just beautiful, long brown hair. Excuse me. Julie Sullivan was her name. And that was it for me. Excuse me. I thought this is the life. So I started taking more theater classes. In my sophomore year, this is the real crux of it for me. I got to perform as the lead in a short play, a one act, at the Thespian Convention in Missoula, Montana, where all the other high schools brought their short plays. And we performed in front of like 600 college kids at the Missoula theater department. And I remember being on that stage, and we got into our play, and it was going so well. All of the attention of these 600 kids was just focused on us, and we finished the play, and kids jumped out of their seats, and we just got this massive standing. We were the only play that weekend to get a standing ovation. And I remember that feeling and thinking, I am so connected to this group of people. Like, I could have done anything, I could have squeezed my hand and they would have cried. I could have tickled and they laughed. It was that feeling of connectedness that I thought, I want to have this all the time. And that was the conversion for me to be a theater kid. And I tried later in college to go back into Air Force ROTC and to go into engineering, and it just didn't stick. I thought, I can't do it. So originally for me, it was, I want to perform, I want to connect to an audience that way and be the person. But, and here's the second part of your question. As I started to, grow up, finish college, and then started to have my own kids, I started to understand what that feeling was. God bless us. He blesses us with talents. And for me, that was a talent that I felt like I had to share. And I started to understand that it wasn't just about getting all this attention and praise on me. It was about connection. It was about connecting with people. And as I had my own kids, I started to realize that improv is a tool, and theater can be a tool to connect families together. And we have built our life around that. Our entire family is built around how can we connect with our kids. And for us, that is improv. That's theater. That's acting. We have a wall over here on our hallway that has a poster of all the short films that we've done. And the majority of them have our kids in them, either in front of the camera or behind the camera. So we've just built our life that way. And I realized as we've gone on, we've done it for so long at this point, we are creators because our Heavenly Father who created us is a creator. And gosh, I get emotional talking about this because if there's one thing that we're designed to do, it's create, right? We're designed to be parents. We're designed to create the life that we want. And eventually we're designed to become just like our Heavenly Father is and be creators of whatever it is that we can create. And for me and for Nicole and for our kids, theater does that for us. Specifically, improv does that for us because you can take a prompt, or you don't even need a prompt, and you can just make something out of nothing. And the cool thing is that you can make a connection with anybody out of nothing, whether it's strangers, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's enemies, whatever it is. I did this was a couple of years ago. I did a show on my birthday out at the prison here in Boise, just south of Boise. And they have a chapel out there, and we were in the chapel, and they brought in these prisoners, and it was me and one other person, this guy that got that had the connection, right? And we went out and we did improv, and
Wow.
The prison was on lockdown after about 45 minutes because something else somewhere else in the prison was happening, and they had to lock it down. So what was supposed to be about an hour to an hour and a half show, we ended up there for about 5 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And we ended up just doing improv games and interacting with these prisoners and just having this connection with these complete strangers, some of whom were there for dumb reasons, some of them who were there for murder and for killing people and for all these other things. And we were able to connect with them for 4 or 5 hours just out of nothing, and in this chapel, this house of God out there on the prison campus, where we're creating these connections with people. And I was like, this is my life. I love this. I would not rather be doing much else than this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Two thoughts come to mind. One is, that you get to do the thing that you love to do. Like that's, like the thing that you feel you were created to do. And second is you've managed to be able to allow it to financially support. I think a lot of people look and say, I love doing this, but there's no money in it. And a lot of people might think that about like improv comedy, right? Somehow you took a love of that connection through theater and turned it into supporting your family. Walk us through what that looked like for you. Because I think a lot of people would say, I love to, do woodwork, or I love to paint, or I love to, create something, but I can't support my family that way.
Yeah. Well, that has been the biggest challenge, honestly. And I was Nicole about this the other night. I have this this hoodie that I wear sometimes that we got when we were in a coaching program, and on the back of it, it says #GetPaid. And we were talking about how sometimes we feel weird about wearing that because, we don't want to seem greedy, and we don't want to seem like, oh, I'm only doing this because it makes me money. But the reality is when you are good at something, why shouldn't you be compensated for it? I worked, when we first moved here to Boise, I worked at a call center, my first job down there in Provo, right after I got married. Orem, actually. Convergys was the name of the call center. And we moved up here, and I started working for Quest. And Quest was a call center. They used to, it's now CenturyLink, but they did DSL, phone service, We started selling cell phones at the time. And then HP Shopping came along and they were opening a call center for Hewlett Packard. And so I moved over there and I was doing that. And that was right as we were in the process of getting our first improv theater off the ground, a physical location where we could perform improv comedy. And I mean, as somebody, as a creator, I've always had that entrepreneurial bug, you know. So one of the worst things that my parents ever did to me was they gave me a copy of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad while I was in the middle of college. You know, I'm reading this book. I'm like, my education is useless. But
well, you're working for a salary instead of volunteering to learn.
Yes.
The one thing Robert Kiyosaki says, never do work for a salary.
Right. But that always, it triggered those thoughts in my brain. Like, okay, I'm creating here on this theater side, but why can't I apply that same thing to creating income streams? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually kind of merging the two, when I realized that the skill that I had in improv and helping people connect was something that people would pay for, right? That took a long time. It was 2016. In fact, we were down at a conference in San Diego, and Marcus Lemonis was down there talking at this conference, and he has a television show called The Prophet, where he goes into businesses and he kind of helps them turn around and grow and, you know, save their business. And he was teaching this group of successful entrepreneurs what their elevator pitch was, and, you know, how to give somebody an elevator pitch in 30 seconds. And these people would step up to the mic and try to give him their elevator pitch, and they were just bombing. They didn't understand how to do that. And Nicole and it hit Nicole really hard. She thought, this is storytelling. This is telling your story in a way that connects to people that they want to work with you. You know, 15, 17 years of experience in storytelling and improv. And the light came on and we were like, this is a skill that people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
They might be making money, but how much more money could they be making when they start learning how to connect to people, specifically their clients and their marketing pool? So their ideal prospects, their potential clients, their audience. How can they connect to them? And that kind of turned the page for us. So it was right around then when we started realizing that like the stories that we could tell through filmmaking, through creating advertisements, through creating video sales letters, marketing materials, all that kind of stuff, that could be used to help people connect with their audience. And that is something that they pay money for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So wanting to swear and having an opportunity to kiss girls, which also like former, I can't call myself a theater guy anymore because I haven't done theater for 25 years, but to standout memory. I mean, I can't tell you the standout memory, but that first time you get the script and you're like, wait, there's some words in here that I'm not supposed to say. It does create some interesting moral dilemma for you, but that's how you found your passion. Have you ever thought, or like, has anybody ever asked you like, okay, theater's not my passion, but I want to find it? Is there a lesson you learned in your story about how other people would go about finding the thing that makes them just like come alive?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Nicole and I have a little exercise that we help people and we walk them through that helps us help them find that. We're so far away from that. But when that spark hits, they know it, we know it, anybody that's watching knows it. And it's really just figuring out what your why is. Why are you doing the things that you do?
Mm-hmm.
And once you find that why, things start to become a lot more clear. Clearer, clearer, a lot clearer. And for us, it's family, right? We do the things that we do because, they're all different and individual, and they're all just they say that you want to raise people that you want to be around. You want to raise your kids so that they're people that you want to be around. And we've done that. We want to be around our kids now. Our oldest is 22. She's getting married in May. And then our youngest is 7. And for the most part, sometimes the 7-year-old is a little iffy, but for the most part, we want to be around our kids more than anybody else. And here's the crazy part. Our kids want to be around us more than anybody else. And we love that. We that is a point of pride for us that our kids want to hang out with their parents and their siblings more than, other friend groups that they've ever had.
That is crazy. Like, could you give us like, is there a question? Is there a practice that would start somebody on that to say, how do I start figuring out what it is that makes me like really just passionate?
Yeah, we don't really have a name for it. It's called the why exercise, I guess you could call it that. But you just start asking questions of yourself, and you can write journal these, doing this. Oh, it's to make money. Okay, why do I want to make money? Okay, well, I want to make money so that I can, buy the things that I want to buy. So what are those things? You write those down. Well, it's a vacation. Why do you want to go on vacation? Well, I want to spend time with my family. Boom. You want to spend time with your family. Why? Because I love them. Okay, that's it, right? That's it. And it's not going to be that for everybody. You principles. What are my core values? And why am I not aligned with those values in my day job? And is there a way that I can better align with them?
Have you ever experienced that, being misaligned or feeling out of alignment? Have you experienced that where like you felt like, oh, I'm out of alignment. I'm not aligned with my core purpose, the meaning and purpose I'm looking for?
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely. I think I've been fortunate enough in my life to be very close to where I want to be aligned. But there have been times, when I was working for HP Shopping, this was in 2006. And this is kind of a tough story, but we were training people how to do comedy sports at the time. And comedy sports is just a specific style of improv. And it's a licensed format. So there's comedy sports all over the country. And everywhere that you go to a comedy sports, you're going to see clean comedy. It's always clean. It's age appropriate for everybody. And we love that about it because we want families to be able to come and enjoy it without being embarrassed and we can't take anybody under the 16, right? So we do comedy sports kind of as our main thing because it's all ages. And we perform that way anyway, but comedy sports specifically. So we were teaching people this format in 2006, and I was working for HP Shopping. And we knew that we wanted to build this theater. Well, one of the guys that was training with us, very, very funny comedian, and he had some history in Salt Lake of comedy. So we felt fortunate that we had met him here in Boise. He was working with me at HP Shopping. He's one of the supervisors and one of the training supervisors over there. And I thought, this is going to be fantastic. We're going to be able to do this together. We were good friends. We'd go over to his house. We had a child that was the same age. And we knew his wife really well. I came in one weekend after a weekend, I think 3-day weekend in June sometime. And he wasn't there. And I got pulled into the office. And they told me that over the weekend, he had committed suicide. And he was one of the funniest people that I knew. And I thought, what am I doing? Am I not connecting with people the way that I should be, And I can't speak to what was going on in his life at the time. I know he had some health issues and that kind of stuff, but I don't know. And you never really know. But I mean, almost everybody has been affected by that kind of experience, in their lives. And we went down to Lake Powell on a family vacation shortly after that. And I was spending time with family We do it every year. We've done it every year. And it's one of our favorite traditions is just to be down there, cut off from most everything, right? Stuck on a houseboat with the people that hopefully love and care about. We do all the things. And I was thinking, do I want to go back to this job where I'm not connecting with people? You know, I'm not the happiest that I think I could be. And I remember there's this one spot on Lake Powell where you can get cell phone service because there's a cell phone tower up on this mountain. And I got to that spot in the boat because it's in the middle of the lake. And I called my supervisor and I said, I'm done. I mean, I'll come back for 2 weeks if you want me to, but I'm not going to be there any longer than this. Part of it was because, you know, of the loss of somebody that I really cared about. But part of it was realizing that wasn't where I was meant to be. And then it was 3 months after that we had our theater built and it was opening the following month. So taking that break moved a completely days of our lives. And here's the awesome part. We had that theater open for a year. We were brand new business owners, right? And social media was barely a thing back then. If anything, we were all friends with that guy on MySpace, but that was about it. And we didn't know how to market. So, and we didn't have the budget. Like we had a small business loan, but only part of it, we actually only got part of it. So our marketing budget wasn't there. But we were offering classes, we were performing, we were training people. And this kid came through as an audience member with his mom and dad. And he loved it. He thought it was so funny and fun. His parents loved it. He ended up taking a class with us. And we closed that theater a year later. And we were friends at that point. So, and he kept doing that show with us and some other things happened. We found out years later that when he had come to see that first comedy sports show, he was not sure if he wanted to continue living. He was at a space where he was contemplating suicide. And because of watching that show and being invited into that community and connecting with us and with the other people that we had built that community around, he didn't. He chose to live. And I talk to him regularly now. We just saw him last weekend in person. He was there with his wife, who we love, and they have a beautiful baby boy. And we lost a lot opening that first improv theater. We'd mortgaged we refinanced a couple of houses, some investment properties that we had. And we lost a ton of money on it, right? The sheriff had to chain the doors because we hadn't paid rent for a while. It turned out to be kind of a mess financially for us, but we know that it saved one person's life. And I think, was it worth that one person's life? Yeah. Yeah, it was. I would do that over and over and over again if it meant I could save one person's life. And you know, I mean, bring this back to being excited about the gospel. I mean, how much does our Heavenly Father love us? How much are we worth? How much is our one life worth to our Heavenly Father? And creating things for us is what he has done, right? And that's part of the gospel, is that he gives us all of these things with the hope that we can enjoy it and appreciate it and create joy out of it and come back to him someday, because of that connection. And as we do those things, Jason, that connect us to other people, that's being like our Heavenly Father. I don't think there's anything better in this life. The money that we have in our bank account, it's the connections and the relationships that we have with people that we take with us.
I really appreciate you sharing a couple of things there. And particularly because maybe people get the false impression of, like, you know, you were in college and you found this thing that you're passionate about, and then it was like smooth sailing. But you're sharing stories of like financial stress and trouble, right? Like, was there ever a point where you're like, Okay, never mind. Sorry, God, I gave it my best effort, but this is, I'm going to go do something else now.
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about it. Um, Over the years, I've been blessed enough to connect with people that own successful businesses, and um, have been employed by them at some point or other. And you know, it's plug into a corporate experience and be an employee and just punch that clock day in and day out. But one, it's never felt right.
Hmm.
It's never felt completely right. And two, as I look back on it now, most of the things that our kids have experienced, and we've been able to create things for our kids for them to experience that
Hmm.
I don't think a lot of people do. And I don't think that's wrong. I don't begrudge people or look down on people for putting the time into a job where they make money and they can support their family really, really well. And maybe not spend as much the boat, have the vacations, all that kind of stuff. We don't have that. But the relationship that I have with my kids is worth every single thing that I don't have. I mean, and we make stuff work. If my kids need something, I traded marketing services or video marketing services with a lady that has a preschool so that our son could go to preschool. Um, or our daughter, I guess it was our 11-year-old. So it's just things like that, right? And again, it comes down to being creative. Creative, it's to create, right?
Yeah.
And when you start to think about it, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff looking at it in a way that is a little bit different.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, Again, talking with Jared Stull, there is a link in the podcast description, especially if you're here in the Boise area. Go check out boisecomedy.com, comedy sports here. My wife and I were there with a couple of friends just a couple of weeks ago. It was spectacular. Jared wasn't performing, but his wife was, and it is a super way to spend an evening. So if you're in the Boise area, check it out. Or if you think, man, I want to go visit Boise, it's a great place to visit.
It is. It's well, we were visiting when we got stuck here for 25 years.
Um, so as we wrap up, as you look maybe forward, we've talked a bit about the past. As you look forward, do you have a vision of like what your purpose is over the next 10 years?
Oh man, yes. We um we've realized that, I mean, telling great stories is uh, it's wonderful, right? We're lucky enough that we can do that on a regular basis. Every weekend we step on stage and we can create stories. And we want to increase the reach that we have. We can
Hmm.
fit 90 people into that theater once a week, you know? Um, and that's great. And we want to be able to reach more people. So we have plans, and he he makes films how a lot of other people well, he does with film what we've been doing with improv. He turned it into his life's work. And
Hmm.
we've been lucky enough to kind of come along with that. And he is pushing us to go bigger with our storytelling so that we want to turn into feature films. And again, these are stories that need to be told. When you hear the right story, I'm a firm believer that the Spirit of God testifies to truth, right? And it's not just about, oh, the Book of Mormon is true. No, it's about principles that are true. Hey, uh, when I serve other people, I feel better. I feel closer to my Father in heaven. And boom, you feel the Spirit when you do that, because that's a universal truth. It doesn't have to be confined within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So helping more people feel those universal praise and films that touch people's lives. Angel Studios is doing a great job of doing that right now. And we want to get into that kind of same space where we're creating films with awesome stories that help people connect with their Heavenly Father.
Love it. I know for me, gosh, I just feel inspired after chatting with you. And this is why I was so excited to do it, to just go out and spend more time doing what I love, spend more time on the thing that matters most to me in the world. And even if it's not yet a full-time job, just spend more time doing the thing that is most important. And I love that concept of how much is it worth not to have it? Like, if I sacrifice one thing for another, how much is it worth not to have that thing? So I love that concept. Jared, thank you so much. Yeah. It has been really inspiring listening to and learning from you today. Really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Hey, it's been my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.